Niki Backes and Levi. We
Levi
have.
Don't even start that now.
Easy, I got that clarification. They're coming out here from Michigan and going to talk to us about the bees a little bit, the birds and the bees.
Birds and the bees.
And I'm pretty excited about this class. So we got a couple new faces in here. Bill is in here. Bill is my original mentor in this program, what, 8-9 years ago? So now I've got Gary here. I am now going to be mentoring him this season. And
Awesome.
he reminds me a lot of Bill. I got little Bill over here.
Yeah.
But I met Niki and Levi at Nobby this past January. Bumped into them again in Wisconsin at the Midwest Honeybee Expo. And
You can't shake us.
I can't.
You're stuck with us now.
Now they're tracking me down here in Indiana. So
We know where
it
you
wasn't
live.
there's drinks, there's snacks. If it runs over, you have to go. No hard feelings. I mean, we've all got lives. So other than that, I've got nothing else.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out to listen to my talk on the birds and the bees. And since it's just like a small group, if anybody just wants to throw out questions or comments or whatever, and then we'll talk at the end or whatever. So we'll wait till Ron is out of the way. That's me. I've got 20 plus years of beekeeping. I'm a world traveled beekeeper. I've been to Europe, Uganda, Poland, South America, just about everywhere doing beekeeping. I'm a small business owner at a product business called Red Honey for a long time that focused on beehive-based products. So I had like a lip balm line, a salve line, and I do product formulation. I volunteer for Bees Abroad, which helps bring beekeeping supplies and mentorship to beekeepers in Africa. I work out of Uganda. I also work with a couple of the big guys in the honey industry and the Bee Cause Alliance to work on the tropicale mite and the yellow-legged hornet. So working on prevention and eradication of those two things. And I'm now going to volunteer for Hives For Heroes. And we're excitedly waiting to get our first mentor, or mentee rather. I won the Good Food Awards in 2018. I co-own Harmony Hives with Mr. Levi. I was a beekeeping relations manager for Dallin Animal Health. As of yesterday, I am now unemployed. So they closed the whole North American division down. So yeah. So, but I will talk a little bit about the vaccine and all of that. Harmony Hives that I work with in Levi, we do top bar beekeeping, custom made top bars, and we're working on treatment-free plans for beekeeping. So, the flyers are on the table. That's a little bit about me. There's probably some other stuff, but that's the interesting things. Oh, and I just finished my commercial pollination certificate from the University of Montana online. Okay, so today I'm going to tell you a little bit about drones and why drone health is important and why it's so much overlooked usually in the beehive. So what is a drone? We know that it's a male bee that carries the genetic line. We call that a haploid genetic. It has one set of chromosomes in a drone, so they are the pure expression of the queen. Old Todd here doesn't have a daddy, but he has grandsons. So wrap your head around that mystery for a moment. The interesting thing about a drone is that he had one specific purpose, and that purpose is to mate with the queen. So he is built with large eyes, more flight muscles, to be able to fly longer. He doesn't make wax, he doesn't make honey, he doesn't do anything but mate with the queen, and he dies after insemination with the queen. The other thing that makes drones very important is that they are universally accepted into any hive. So if a drone is flying around and hanging out in what we call drone congregation area, waiting to mate, and he decides he's waited too long and he's hungry, and he just goes to the nearest hive and he walks right in. He doesn't carry the pheromonal expression of the hive, so he's universally accepted, meaning any diseases that he carries can be universally transferred into those hives as well. So, so anything that is going to negatively impact a working beehive is going to be even that much more impactful to a drone because they can express it into any hive that they decide to walk into. So drone development is kind of a crappy picture, but this is your queen, of course. That's your the non-fertile female worker, and that's your drone. The queen takes 16 days to hatch roughly, 24 days on a drone, and 21, 22 days on a worker. Why this is important is because a lot of disease that drones carry are from mites and the varroa mite. And the reason the varroa mites are attracted to the drones is because of the hatching time. The varroa mite cycle is 22 days and it takes 24 days to hatch. So the way that the varroa mite repopulates is by laying a queen first and then multiplying as many times in a 22-day cycle. And since the drone takes 24 days, it's the best cell for them to lay. And so the drones are inundated with varroa mites. Men aren't worthless, but sometimes they're considered non-productive. Yeah. So the drones are carrying, and why we say drones don't have dads is because they are the haploid genetics. They carry the genetic expression of the queen. So they are the genetic expression of the queen, and so that's why they have grandsons. Whenever more drones are made from a mated queen, the drones that she lays are the grandsons of the drones that mated with her. So that's why they don't have a dad, but they have grandkids. So when a queen is going to mate, a virgin queen flies out for several days, and she mates to 3 or 4 days. She needs to mate with 12 to 20 healthy drones to have the proper amount of genetic material stored in order to complete her tenure as a queen. So drones are congregated in what's called DCAs, drone congregation areas, and they can be from any hive anywhere, in natural hives, kept hives, and they find each other in congregated areas in the sky that's usually equidistance of 1.5 miles from a virgin queen or a mating area, mating yard. So they go up into what we call the bee bar in the sky and hang out and hope for a virgin to fly by and mate with her. That's why they need all the flight muscles, and that's why they need the large eyes. When a virgin queen goes by a drone congregation area, those boys light out like their life depends on it. And it kind of does, because as soon as they mate with her, the insemination process, the way it entails, all of his reproductive organs come out, and he falls a hero's death afterwards. So, that's why it's so important.
Well, with the airborne part added, of course.
Right. Yeah. Well, I want to see you fly, Mano. And she will outrun them. So it's the survival of the fittest and fastest, and that's what leads to good bee health, is the genetic diversity. Being able to mate with the queen is the best man for the job, gets it done. So the rest of the guys, we'll try again tomorrow. They'll go back to any hive, and they crawl right into any hive, crying and whining. They're hungry, and somebody feeds them. So I know it's just weird how nature mimics. This is actually an up close of why a drone dies, is because this is a queen. This is the reproductive organs of the drone, and when he inseminates her, this whole sac and everything comes out of him, and that it actually pulls his guts out. So then he's got nothing in the bottom anymore. So they do live a little while after that happens, but I think by the time they fall to the ground, they're dead. So they're not alive for very long. When this happens, the diseases that the drones are carrying, and we'll list and go over the diseases here in a second, can be transferred in the seminal fluid to the reproductive organs of a queen. So the pathogens can be directly transferred to the oviducts of the queen, and she's then infected for life. She carries these diseases. So every egg she lays has, and I think the next slides are going into the disease. Yes. So the most critical one and the most important one that we talk about is the DWV, or the deformed wing virus. If you see this is a bad case right here. Usually it's asymptomatic in DWV, so you can have it for a very long time and not know that you have it. When the wings start to go like this, then you've got a very, very bad infection. The DWVA, B, and C, A particularly was one of the leading causes of the bee die-off for 25, that we had the high losses in the commercial realm, in the commercial beekeeping. DWV was a big part of that. Now, combined with what I told you about the breeding cycle of the mites that carry DWV and how they attach to the drones and then pass this along. Now, DWV can be passed in other ways as well. But what people aren't looking at is the fact that the drones are infecting the queens that are carrying it as well. It's an overlooked fact that this is an STD that can be passed during the mating flight. Another one that they carry is going to be your black queen cell virus. This one's a little less known and often misdiagnosed by beginner beekeepers. But it will be a very scary day when you see queen cells. They're filled with a black larva, and that's a black cell between that, blah blah. It is a yellow, pukey yellow, and then it will finally turn black. And when it's turned black, then that spore can then infect other cells around it once it's black. So it will flake off and then become very, it's highly contagious.
Is that killing the queen then? Okay. They're not gonna hatch.
That's not gonna hatch, no. Not only is it not gonna hatch, but then this black will flake off and start infecting the beeswax and the cells beneath it and on it. And then the cells itself can attach to the hairs on the bees, and it can be spread throughout the entire
And it'll just spread from cell to cell.
Cell to cell. Yep. This disease particularly is seen in the spring and early summer when before you get a good fresh nectar flow. Almost every one of these diseases that we're talking about, fresh clean nectar on a good nectar run can solve almost every bee disease, whether it's EFB or DWB is not one of them, but this is good nutrition is really a couple of brood cycles can pretty much solve most bee disease that you're going to run into. Another one is the nosema, and that's the bee diarrhea or the bee poop that you see mostly in the spring, and it'll be the brown kind of runs on the front of the box. And that's just them holding all of their waste material until it was warm enough to make a mating flight. But this is also, the bee poop can carry disease, and then when the bees walk over it and come into contact with it, then the disease can be transferred through bee poop, and that's called a fomite transmission. That's when something that they touch has a disease and they can carry it. Nosema is just like a bad case of diarrhea for us. It can kill you, and it kills them as well. So once they get the runs, like anything else, good nutrition, good nectar will clean out a hive, but you're going to lose quite a few bees in the nosema. So the fact that a drone can pass this disease through the queen and through the egg that she lays, this is a real problem. And you usually see it in the spring, but if you see it in the middle of summer and you have good nectar, then you've probably had a queen that was infected with nosema, because she'll pass it through the entire cycle of her life to other bees. And last but not least is the acute bee paralysis, which was also pointed to as being an issue for the 25 bee death die-offs. And this one's a little harder to identify in a hive, but what happens is the bees get a slick, greasy look to them, and they start wobbling. And they don't communicate well, and you can just kind of, it's not a great picture. That one's really hard to determine, but if they're smooth and wet looking and greasy looking, they very possibly could have the acute bee paralysis virus. This is another one that directly comes from varroa mites. So this and DWV are from varroa mites, where nosema can be environmental, or as an STD. So yeah, this can actually wipe out not only the hive that it's in, but is very easily transferred. It is highly contagious, and it will very easily infect the hive next to it. This is also another subclinical disease, meaning that you'll have it for a long time before you can see it. And once you can see it, it's probably too late. So the way to kind of combat this is nutrition, nutrition, nutrition. Fresh nectar, or constantly having a good food source available for these bees in times of dearth. These are varroa mites on drones that haven't hatched, but you can see them attaching right here. So because of the longer camping style time, the 22 days that it takes for these guys to breed and the 24 days that it takes a drone to hatch, it's almost perfect for them. For a long time, they thought it was the size of the cell that attracted the varroa mite, because the drone cells are quite a bit larger than a worker cell, but it's just the amount of time that it's capped over that the varroa can hatch. Where a queen, and a healthy queen to develop, is out of royal jelly, a drone is developed out of high quality pollen. So you need good quality B vitamin pollen in your area to produce healthy drones. If you have poor forage in your drone areas, then you'll get smaller drones, and the smaller a drone is pretty indicative of a very low sperm vitality. Yeah, so pesticides in the area, spraying a lot of different pesticides will dampen the sperm production in the drone, and if it's really hot. These guys are big, fat, lazy men, and if it gets too warm, they can't do their job.
We're done.
We're done. They're done. They're done until it cools off. So that's why you get a better mating cycle and queen cycles in the spring. The lower temperatures, the fresh nectar, it all leads to a healthier drone and queen breeding. So what can we do as a cutie? They detached, and they gotta be chewed out of their own cells. They can't, they don't do, the workers will work themselves out of their own cells, and they clean their own cell, and they immediately go to work as a housekeeping bee. Drones fumble their way out, they have to be helped out, and then they have to be fed immediately, and if they don't, they cry. And they cry very loudly. And it's hilarious. It cracks me up every time. Much like a queen that will pip, you know, you can hear them pipping, a drone has a funny little cry when they're hungry. So it's interesting to note that some of the ways that people have talked about monitoring your varroa mites and your varroa mite levels is by cutting drone comb out completely. Don't do it. That's for a long time was thought to be a great natural way to reduce your disease load, was by cutting out the drone comb that would contain the varroa mite, that would contain the diseases. But what you're doing is you're lessening the drones, not just for the hives. Maybe you aren't worried about mating your own queen that she's already mated, you're not worried about it. But those drones go out in the environment, and they travel the entire environment. So they're mating with native bees, not native, but wild bees. They're mating anybody in the area, and they can go for miles and miles and miles. So when you're selecting for genetics in a beehive and you really like what a queen is doing, then you want to pay attention to your drones, because trying to replicate the genetics of a queen won't come from the queen. It's going to come from the drones. So you want to select your mating pools and keep the drones healthy for any time you're doing queen mating or queen rearing. And yeah, I just can't stress enough, don't remove the drone comb. It's not worth it. And also the entire hive needs about a 2 to 5% drone population for morale in the hive. The girls don't work as well when there's not men around. They're not as motivated.
It's usually the other way around, isn't it?
No, it's not.
No.
Okay, so like I said, I was working for Dalen Animal Health, and they're the makers of the queen vaccine. Now, the queen vaccine is kind of interesting because what it's doing is it's looking at transgenerational immune priming. So we discovered that not only do bees have an immune system, but you can prime the immune system like a mother breastfeeding a child. So you can pass along good qualities and good health through this deactivated bacillium. This is American foul brood bacteria that's been deactivated and added to an aqueous solution. The solution is then mixed with your queen candy. And then the queen candy is absorbed by the worker bees. It enters the worker bees' hypophalangeal gland in their brain, and then they regurgitate it and feed that into royal jelly that they feed to the queen. And when they feed that royal jelly that has been treated with this vaccine, it takes about 7 days, and then she digests it, it goes into her brain, and then it attaches to her ovaries. And it is now then in her ovrums, and she then carries it for her life, and she's able to attach the vaccine to the eggs that she lays. So every egg she lays has got a immune primed development, and they are resistant to the foul brood virus, and it found out it's being effective in the deformed wing virus as well.
Is that both foul broods that they're immune to then, or?
It's not. So this is American foul brood only. The EFB, the European foul brood, has 3 strains, and it's an unstable bacteria that we're not able to replicate in the lab and deactivate. It would be a great one to use because a foul brood pretty much is an old 1950s disease that nobody thinks about anymore in the United States, but it's a very stable bacteria. It's very easy to work with in this scenario. So, Yeah. Oh, that's weird. Okay. So when you are priming, it just looks different on the screen. When you're priming for health for bees, you can use things like, you know, the vaccine, good pollen, good nectar. You know, you've got products like Hive and so just your common sugar syrup is great. You can do white sugar and water for sugar syrup, but you can also add essential oils for bee health. You can, you know, really mix it up, make it diverse for the bees and for their gut health. And to always make sure that you're not just looking at one aspect. There's not one part of a beehive that's more important than the other. It all needs to work together. So you have to consciously think about your drone health, your worker health, your queen health, and keep it balanced the entire time. So, okay, so my final thoughts and misconceptions. Drones are useless. They're not, clearly. They're the backbone of your genetic material in the hive. They're also the quality of your bees. So the drone that inseminates that queen, the viability of his sperm is going to determine how well she lays, how many eggs she can lay, and the health of the bees themselves, the size of them and everything. So you don't just look at the queen and say, oh, she's the one laying the eggs, her health's what's important. Her health is dependent on the workers and the drone health as well. So it's all very much plays into the thing, and not one part of it is more important than the other. And you have to remember, even though drones are hilarious because they're just milling about always, and they get kicked out in the fall and they make fresh ones in the spring, their contribution is the future of colony strength, not in daily labor. They're not daily laborers, all right? They're just the genetic material moving the hive forward, but they don't like to do nothing, so don't bother them for production or honey making or anything useful for day-to-day labor. And that's me in a unicorn beekeeping outfit. I'm not going to answer questions about that, but it's a good picture. Any questions? Because that's pretty much the gist. Yes?
Is that a miniature unicorn beekeeping outfit next to you?
Because we made that.
I found these giant unicorn hats, and it occurred to me that that seemed like a good thing to go out and beekeep with. And it had big screened eyes, so I was out there.
That's great. I love that.
I have a whole series on that.
Yeah, that looks like something me and my granddaughter would do together.
Yeah, there was no real good reason I did that, except, you know, I'm easily entertained. And
There you go.
don't give me $10 and turn me loose at Walmart, you know. I'm gonna go right to the toy section.
So going back to the adding nutrients of some sort to your syrup feed,
Yeah.
your 1-to-1.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on Avis Biologics?
I love them.
I do.
I think they're amazing. So I was watching and talking, I talked about Vinny a couple times, and I watched a YouTube he did recently, but he's also talking about thinner syrup being healthier for buildup. So depending on, spring and fall feeding are very different. What you're gonna feed, either pollen, you don't wanna feed any pollen in the fall, because pollen is going to trigger the queen to want to lay eggs, because you have a high protein count, so that tells the queen that there's nectar and resources in nature. So when you're doing something synthetic, like putting a synthetic pollen petty in there, it could cue the hive to start laying eggs when you're trying to wind her down for fall to winterize. So we don't feed pollen in the fall at all, that's a spring additive, and you want to thicken your nectar in the fall as well. In the spring, though, it was 1-to-1, but now Bob Benny's even saying even like a 1/2-to-1 on that. Get it thin. Get it really
That little
thin.
one that I've got out there, I've been having to go about 3/4-to-1. Just it doesn't flow right out of it.
Yeah.
Even at 1-to-1s.
At 1-to-1, yeah.
Just because that space is so thin.
Yeah. So knowing like what season you're working with from spring, summer, and fall, because overwintering is the main goal, is different nutritional requirements. So I break my bee time up to spring and nectar, to a dearth, and then to winter prep. So that's 2-3 different time frames in a very short amount of time that have completely different nutritional requirements. In the fall, I want high pollen, quality pollen, and a lot of nectar. I want to signal the queen to start laying eggs again, and to lay drones, and that's all going to do that. But when I get into a dearth in the middle of summer, when if I have to supplement, I will supplement with a biologics patty, because the pollen content, the protein content is a little bit lower, but like they have other nutrients, the micronutrients and macronutrients in those that are really good for the bee. They got spironella and good Lord, I can't even remember it. So it's great though. But that's a different nutrition than I would feed in the spring and then in the fall.
What is it? I use Aphis Biologics in our liquid feed. I haven't used the patties.
Oh, see, I've only used the patties. I haven't done the liquid.
I've done it's just, I mean, it's expensive. You just pick that little full pack.
Yeah.
And it's just like a teaspoon per gallon or something like that, a tablespoon per
Wow.
gallon. And I mean, it'll discolor your
What are
water.
the pucks that we use?
Yeah, the pucks that I use that I feed in the back of the hive are happy tablets. Happy tablets, and that's a lot of the essential oils that you're talking
Yeah.
about too. It's not sold as a mite treatment.
Right.
But if you put a sticky board or on your bottom board, and you feed that puck, within 2-3 days you pull it out, you will see your mite load dropping drastically.
No, I'm gonna say that's probably from the Thymol. that's in
Happy
those.
tablets.
It's gonna be the Thymol and that's doing it. So it's
Yep.
thyme oil. It's doing that for the mites. So I will supplement some thyme and oil in my liquid feed.
Okay.
And I will put it in sugar patties as well. But I have access, because of the product making, I have access to a plethora of essential oils. So I work with wintergreen, thyme, spearmint,
Spearmint's a good one for
Yeah.
your small hive beetles.
small hive beetle. But all of those things can be added to liquid and they can be fed. And it's, again, you're utilizing the same thing as that vaccine. You're priming the immune system when you do that, because the bees have two bellies. They have a nutritional belly and they have a honey belly, or a sac that they carry nectar in that they bring back to the hive. So when they're eating for sustenance to feed themselves, that goes into a different stomach than the nectar does for honey making. So when you add kind of supplements to the food, it's going into their digestive tract, and then a lot of the essential oils are actually leached out through their, it's not pores, but as kind of, I mean, but it's leached out through in the middle of the bee. There's the plates where the beeswax comes from. Thymol will come out through those plates as well.
So that won't affect your honey production?
It shouldn't, but here's the thing about honey production. I don't want to make honey with syrup.
That's what I was gonna ask.
So when they have fresh nectar out in the environment and you see they're not going after that syrup, take it away
Yeah.
and let them make honey with nectar. Yes, Kate.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
First two are probably gonna be weird, and I'm just curious.
We're here for it.
So, when you say that they attach and then they die, how long does that stay in there, and how are multiple mating her when that's happening? Or does this have to happen multiple times? Like, I guess I don't understand.
Okay, so day one, let's say we have a bunch of virgin queens and a queen mate. Now that's the other thing. When before they're mated, you can have several of them living in one hive because they don't have their pheromonal imprint yet until they're mated. They don't produce that yet. So you can have several virgins all roaming around. It's like spring break in Florida. There's a bunch of young girls in there. Woo! Then they start flying, and they'll go past the drone congregation area, and the
We're
lazy
calling it the US though.
the
Like,
US.
well,
Hey, sailor. They go flying by, and a lot of them can't keep up. So there's a percentage of drones that are just too fat, too slow, and they're not even in the contention. And she'll go up, she'll go way up, and a lot of guys give up. But one guy's gonna catch her, and then they start to fall away, and she can outrun them all. But one guy will catch her, and when he sort of attaches to her, he kind of wraps around the end of the abdomen.
Yeah.
So when he inseminates her and that pulls away, it pulses like a venom sac, because it looks just like a venom sac, because it's taking the place of actually the venom sac, but that's the seminal fluid.
Yeah.
Once that's done pulsing like a sting,
Yeah.
it just falls back out. And then, so
It's
she
soft.
Stop it. So,
I'm doing my best, don't encourage me.
so if she makes, what you
Brody's not
said,
here today.
12 to 20, yeah, but she did, so stop it. So how long until she gets mated again right after that?
So she is gonna do that as many times as the men are gonna chase her
In the same flight.
in the same flight. So typically 2 to 3 times that will happen. And then she's done for the day, she's over it. She goes back to the mating nut. And then the next day, she'll go out and that'll happen again. And she'll fly by and they chase her down until she's got about 12 or 20 matings in her. Now, the reason I say 12 to 20 is because when there's low quality sperm, low quality viability in the drones, it takes 20 of them for her to build up the amount of seminal material, genetic material in her ovaries that she's going to need for her whole mating life. So if you've got good quality drones, she may only need to do that 10 or 12 times, and she's done. She's mating.
Okay.
So it depends on the quality of the drones, the health of the drones. If she's got to keep going out for many, many days because they can't keep up with her. So unhealthy drones that have been fed McDonald's their whole life are not going to be able to catch her and mate with her. And so she's going to keep mating and mating more
So
days.
people who are pulling all the honey off and just feeding syrup all winter, those drones are gonna not.
Those are not, that's not a quality.
And
No worries.
is that why we're requeening so much now?
There you go, that's just my next piece.
Yes, it is. There's a couple reasons we're weaning. So,
I mean, not even us, the hive themselves.
Right,
I mean,
super
instead
seekers
of going
coming
3 to
from
5 years, like we're taught a queen lives 3 to 5 years for a viable queen
Sure.
before it starts tapering down. I mean, you're seeing hives requeening themselves that are even, they're split, they're maintained. It's not a swarm cell, it's super seizure.
super seizure.
Every 2 years at best.
Yeah.
I mean that's at best.
Yeah.
If not every year.
I think it's important to note that there is a huge divide between commercial beekeeping and the way they do stuff to the way the hobbyists and sideliners do stuff. So artificial insemination, in my opinion, and I am not here to tell anybody how to do anything at all, my opinion, since I was told to talk today and I'm on my soapbox, is one of the worst things that can happen to bee genetics and bee breeding. Trying to select for the proper seminal fluid to inseminate queens takes away the hunt and chase that is the fit of the best. And when you do that, you're setting yourself up for a less viable queen. The pheromone markers in inseminated queens are drastically reduced, 25 to 40% less pheromone in an inseminated queen than a naturally mated queen. So when you have that going on, a weak pheromone signal is going to lead to a quicker supersedure. So she might only get through a season before they're done. They'll cuddle death her and make a new one. So when you're hobbying and doing your own thing in your own yard, and you're naturally letting them swarm and you're naturally letting them requeen themselves, you are going to get queens that are going to go to that 2-3 year mark. Now, over here in the commercial sector, when I've got 4 hives on a pallet that are going into almonds, I don't give a shit how long they've been. I'm going to just kill every queen I see, requeen with a virgin, and send it out to almonds, because I want 200, 400, 800 bucks on that pallet on almonds. That's what's important to me. So, completely different perspectives with different outcomes. But when they're done with those almonds, let's say, and they bring them back, the splits are made, they want you to take those old queens and that old nasty comb on almonds, and they make nooks, and there's your nooks, and that's what everybody's all about is nooks. So it's always best to start with packages, because beeswax and comb out of a nook carries a lot of disease. And if you're buying nooks from a large operation, you're buying their old pollination hives that they put fresh hives that they kept, and they give you the crap that they don't want anymore. And they're gonna sell you on it, it's pre-made, and that's all true. There is comb there, and there is eggs there, and there is great start. But if you're starting this time of year with a package, you're gonna have healthier bees by fall than you are out of a nook.
I was donated nukes, it was last year.
Don't say.
Bro, I'm not talking about who.
Thank you.
But it's a well-known company around the state, and when I went to deliver them, the JZBC cells, I mean, these are supposed to be overwintered queens.
Yeah.
And there's JZBZ cell
Yeah.
literally hanging between the frames.
Yeah.
It was like, you gave us a freaking virgin cell at this point.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I mean, several of them were queenless,
Yep.
or I mean, go on a mating flight, they don't come back, whatever. I mean, kick her out. Who knows?
Right. I think it's interesting to note too that a lot of times for us in Indiana, Michigan, and Illinois and Ohio, that we want to get overwintering stock that makes sense. You know, all of these guys that beekeep up here, especially in Michigan, that go to blueberries and apples and cherries, they overwinter in Florida. They're down there making those splits right now, and then they bring all that crap back in the spring. And yeah, they are technically Michigan bees, but just do a little research about where you're buying your bees. Try to buy very small, very local when you can, or catch swarms. That's the best thing to do, is catch swarms and try to populate your hives that way. Make your own splits. And then, you know, with these little beekeeping groups like that, these are all resources now. We all can call each other and be like, I need a queen, I need this, I need that. And you're gonna be way better off than trying to deal and hang with the big guys, because they're got a different priority set than we do. Sustainability is not their thing, I guess.
Back to your dirt. What, do you open feed during birth?
It depends on, okay, so we have two things going on. We have top bar hives for sustainability purposes because we love habitat, and we love the environment, and we love bees and all of that. And we want to do right, okay? But we also have bills to pay. And so over here, we've got dirty girls. We got pollination hives, right? Open pollination, or open feeding, I don't recommend that often in pollination hives because they're all carrying a lot of disease in general, and you're constantly treating and figuring out how to balance disease with your pollination contacts, right? So when you're open feeding, you're allowing any of the natural bees and your native bees that we're not talking enough about that are very important to pollination. You're gonna give them disease that they're gonna take out into the environment and spread. Most diseases that we talked about today are honeybee specific diseases, but that DWB can be transferred to the bumbus. And not DWBA, but DWB can be. So bumbus is able to pick that up, and they carry it subclinically, but they don't exhibit any symptoms. It's only time before it mutates.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and then we're affecting that. So I don't recommend open feeding unless it's dry pollen in a barrel. I've seen a lot of that done. I haven't done it myself, but the other reason I don't like open feeding is I don't know who's doing what. Now, if it's the pollination, I don't give a shit what they're doing. Honestly, I mean, queen, 6 frames brood, we're going to whatever we're doing. Over here, I care very much on the amount of syrup they're getting, or the amount of nectar, the amount of pollen. I want to know who's doing what. When you open feed, you can be going anywhere, doing anything. I'm a dork. I want to know what everybody's doing. I'm taking oats.
If you're gonna spend that kind of money, you wanna make sure your bees get
Right.
that.
Yeah.
What are you feeding them there sometime for birth? Or
It depends.
just anything?
That's my number one answer to any beekeeping question that you have. It depends.
It is.
He's heard me say it a million times.
You know, like last year I fed some Hive Alive
Sure.
and,
Yeah.
you know.
Not at all, maybe, sure, go ahead, absolutely.
I think that it depends on your aim, where you're at, your budget. You know, high fructose corn syrup, if you can get that in bulk, that's a great thing to feed them. They love it, and it's the closest sucrose fructose mix to natural nectar that you can get.
Anything's a little easier than dry sugar, mixing it up. And,
You know, you can feed sugar dry just in the hive as a, you know, sugar. You don't have to mix it with water.
That's how I do my,
Yeah.
you know, camp method, but.
Yeah. It just depends on
So-
how you want to do it, honestly. And it depends on what kind of dearth am I in. Like, am I in a natural dearth, or just where I'm in between nectar sources? Or are we in drought? We had a really rough year, and my typical nectar sources aren't coming through. I may change that up and try to increase pollen a little bit, and protein a little bit. It's really just going to depend on what's going on around in my environment, how much money we have,
Okay.
all of those
Well,
factors.
you're a few hours from us, so
Yeah.
the droughts are
Similar.
pretty severe like they have been.
Yeah.
You know, I never did feed last year during dearth.
And how'd you overwinter? Pretty good?
I went the 19th and out 16.
There you go.
Yeah,
Stoked.
yeah.
Super stoked. Yeah.
So another thing to touch on that too, I mean, obviously, I'm right there with you, really pay attention to your environment. If it's a drought, you're gonna have to feed.
Yeah.
But if it's your natural dearth between flows, I'm on the non-treatment side,
Yep.
and that is a natural brood break
Yep.
to manage their mite load all on their own. So, I mean, the more you feed, the more you're introducing the mite load and the disease, where those natural breaks, she combats that. They combat it more themselves.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the interesting thing about varroa mite as well. So we don't like them and they carry disease, but just because you have them doesn't mean that those varroa mites are carrying disease. Some are and some aren't. Honeybees and varroa mites have went round and around since honeybees, you know, were ever discovered, you know, a couple years ago when we found out they were discovered. The varroa mite is only an issue to them when it's distributing disease. So they use hygienics, they groom each other really well, and they can manage mites on their own. And a lot of these, you know, hygienic bees that they're coming out with, the VSHs and the Proline and all that, they're known to smell those mites and will rip the cells open so they can't finish their production. Yeah, so that's something the Saskatchewans are known for doing.
Another, hey, where were we? I think it was at the Purdue Field Day event. We were talking to the state entomologist, and this is a few years ago, so maybe studies have changed, but they're finding that when the bees are contracting the diseases more often than not is during those low nutrition zone timeframes.
Yep.
When they have proper nutrition, the proper proteins, everything, they combat that a lot better themselves.
Yep.
Versus feeding them one-to-one syrup without a supplement in there. I mean, it's just like us eating nothing but candy bars during flu season. You're gonna get sick.
You're gonna get sick.
So-
Well, and that's the same thing. So when you're doing pollination, you go into blueberries, you know your bees are gonna come out with EFB. Some strain of EFB is going to be in those hives because of the fungicides that they spray on blueberries, and because they're on the Michigan coast, right? It takes 2 brood cycles to get rid of EFB with fresh nectar. But that's the only cure for it, really, and that's the only thing that's gonna work itself out. Proper nutrition, that's it. You have any problems in your beehive, proper nutrition is going to solve it now. It doesn't matter what it is. You can throw anything at me, it's going to be proper nutrition. The balance of your protein and pollens, and the balance of your sugars, carbohydrates. That's all what it really boils down to.